Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this podcast. This episode, we have Joe Alindajao. He's a deputy district attorney with the Tulare County District Attorney's Office. He is running for the two-term or the short-term Delano City Council position this coming election. So good morning, Joe.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Doing well, thanks, Andrew.
We're all interested to hear more about you, hear how you would be as a candidate for here in Delano. Sure. Give us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay, well, I was born and raised here in Delano. I lived here all my life. I went to college for about a year and a half, right out of high school. That's where I met my wife, Cheryl. And I stayed in Oklahoma for a couple of years, and I moved back. Cheryl moved back. A few years later, we got married. And when I was a few years after that, we were married like 5 years or so, I started a business. I went into the insurance business. I became an agent for farmers and had an office there in McFarland for the past 15 years. In around, I think, 2008 or 9, I decided to go back to school. I was going through a transition in my life. I think I had more. I wanted to offer more. I felt like God had put gifts and talents in me that I wanted to use to serve others. And so I decided to go back to law school. And that's when I had to go back and finish my college degree first, because I hadn't finished, because I'd been in business for, about 11 or 12 years prior to that. And so I went back, finished my college degree, got accepted in the law school, and passed the bar in 2017 and became a deputy DA in Tulare County. So that's kind of the short version of my life there. So
it's very interesting. So what made you want to run for city council?
Well, I ran in 2006, and in 2006, I think it's 2006 and 2007, and I lost by a few hundred votes citywide. And part of the reason why I was motivated to run for office was because I felt like I wanted to do my part in advancing the city forward. I know back in 2006 and 2007, there was a lot of issues going on with the city. That we had, I think, a little bit of struggle with growing and growth in the city. And so I wanted to do my part. I felt like I had something to offer, and I wanted to help. And now, fast forward, going through law school, becoming a practicing attorney here in the state of California, I felt like my understanding of the law, I think, could be relevant to shaping and moving the city forward. And so that was part of my motivation to run.
Now, do you see any issues with our current government right now here in the city? I mean, do you see any improvement? Obviously, you see there's a need for improvement. That's
Sure.
why you'd be running. But what probably would be your most important issue that you would want to tackle as being a city council person?
Well, first of all, I'm not privileged to know a lot of information about the city as an outsider for now. But some of the issues that I see with the city is, there's 3 priorities that I think that I want to have going forward if I get elected, and that is public safety. Of course, as a prosecutor, it makes sense that public safety is important to me, and addressing issues, gang issues, crime issues. When I first started with the deputy DA's office, one of my jobs is to file charges against suspects. And so in order to do that, I have to read lots of police reports. And so I read lots of police reports, especially from the South Tulare County area. And so as I read through these police reports, I started to wonder, are some of these things, things that you read that should make the evening news, really aren't on the news? And so I was wondering if some of these crimes were going on in our city. And so that brought me to the idea of public safety and wanting city government to be involved more in the issue of public safety. A lot of times that's tasked to the men and women in uniform to carry the load of public safety, but I feel like we can do more as a city government in terms of maybe implementing surveillance cameras throughout the city. I know, I think it's shot. I forget the name of the technology, but it's detecting gunshots throughout the city, exploring those kind of ideas, curfews, gang injunctions, things that the city government can do independent of the police department or with their help on a different track. The public safety, attracting small and medium-sized businesses to Delano, I think that's critical as well, revitalizing downtown. I think it's easy to attract national chains. I think they want to come. They see the potential in Delano. But I think the core of what makes a city are the small and medium-sized businesses. And being able to streamline and make government more efficient so that business can run smoother. In the last few days, I've been having conversations with certain individuals in our city, contractors, different sectors of the community. And I noticed that one of their chief complaints are permits, getting permits to build or permits to start a business. And I understand from what they tell me is that it's been very difficult in doing that. And so being able to streamline that process, I think, is important in many respects. And then, of course, also public safety, attracting small and medium-sized businesses, revitalizing downtown, and making government more efficient. So those are sort of my priorities.
So let's back up just a little bit to what you were saying about that. Now, when you were saying about city surveillance, like cameras throughout the
Correct.
city, is that what you were saying?
Well, I mean, in strategic parts of the city, I think, you will run into perhaps privacy and constitutional issues.
That was one of the questions, or that was one of the things I was going to get to, because
Sure.
I mean, I've been to bigger cities. I've been to New York, and I mean, we've seen that New York has all over, but I mean, you can't really compare New York to Delano
Sure.
as far as size. And this is a smaller community, and
Sure.
I don't know how people would react to that, because we have this sense of like a small community. I mean,
Sure.
so privacy. I mean, when you live in such a small town, everybody pretty much knows everybody anyway. I mean, for the most part. But I mean, privacy-wise, people would probably, I don't know how people would take that.
Sure.
As far as surveillance. I know some people would probably be like, we need to, it probably might be a good thing as far as reducing crime and gang violence and other issues that are within the town. It could help to even catch some crimes that are not able to be seen. But there is that issue of privacy, like you said.
Sure.
And I mean, that'd be pretty interesting to see how that plays out if it were to come to play in the future.
And of course, it's something that I want to be able to present to the city council and have discussions with other council members if I'm elected, and speak with police and the chief about it. And I think we can come to a happy medium. I think many cities already do it now. The state does surveillance monitoring on the freeways. And they do it in a way that I think is, that comports with, privacy and constitutional issues. So I think it could be done, and it could be done in the right way. And I think it can go a long way with solving and preventing crimes.
Okay. Businesses. Now, a lot of, we had one of the councilwomen that's currently on this running for a re-election. We had Liz on here, and we've also had Grace, and she's moving on to county supervisor.
Right.
And they've talked a lot about how what's grown currently and the expansion of like the marketplace and bringing other businesses. So, I mean, is that something you kind of see the same vision to kind of still bring in those businesses to
Yes.
still try to reach out to
Yeah.
bring more? Because I mean, I talked about that with Liz Morrissey on the previous episode, and I was like, it's great that we're getting all these places, but we're still missing a lot.
Yeah.
There's when you look at places to eat, I mean, there's not really a new sit down places. We got Mexican food, we have
Mexican
fast
food.
Places, and more Mexican food, and but that's about it.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice to really see that marketplace area
Sure.
really flourish and get like an Applebee's or something nice where we could take the family out and sit down to. I mean, that's what I see. I
Yeah.
mean, because when you're going to the movies, you want to be able to go somewhere and go out, or just
Right.
go out to a nice dinner. So I mean, that'd be great to see as a vision to anybody within the city to bring more of that. Now, as far as downtown, what is your opinion, or what is your idea of downtown Delano?
I hope that, like I said, if I'm elected, I hope that I can work with other city council members, and I believe that we can, to address the issues that are happening in downtown Delano. I'd like to see it revitalized, but it's going to take a lot of work. A lot of times, many of the building owners are not from Delano, live either out of state or for sure out of the city. And so being able to work with them, maybe creating ordinances to shape what happens in downtown, or I don't know what the total solution is, but all I know is that I think, you know, I know the new development out in the Maya Theater section in the northwest section of the city, that's going to continue, and it's going to continue to grow and prosper. But I don't, at the same time, I don't want us to forget about what's going on in downtown, and really allow downtown, and even the old, what they refer to as Chinatown. Let's not forget about those areas. I think those are ripe areas for revitalization, and new and small and medium sized businesses to come, even national businesses to come there. But I don't know. There's something nostalgic. There's something inspirational about downtowns and small towns, and I want our downtown to be that. And you go to other cities like Hanford, or even Porterville or Visalia, they have very nice revitalized downtown, and it does something for the community. And I want us to attempt to do the same thing if we can, and work hard at doing that. Maybe bring in some, the kind of restaurants and businesses that the Delano consumer is looking for. I think it could, instead of all focus in the northwest section of the city, I say we kind of spread the love a little bit and maybe work on downtown in the Chinatown area.
That's good. Well, right now we are going to take a quick break because we have a technical problem that we have to solve real quick so we can keep this podcast going. So we're going to take a quick pause, and then we'll be right back up. So there'll be a quick jump on this podcast. Okay. Thanks. All right, everyone. We are back. Sorry for that. We had a little bit of technical difficulties with our cameras real quick, but we are back up on this filming for this podcast with Joe Alindajao. Now, we were just talking about downtown and the infrastructure here in Delano and what his visions are for downtown. And I kind of do agree with that because, I mean, I know downtown, we do see other areas, outlying areas like Porterville, Visalia. Visalia has a beautiful downtown area. Bakersfield has always worked on their downtown area, and so is all the other outlying communities. So it would be great to see that come into Delano. Now, is there anything else that you think that would set yourself apart from any of the other candidates that you're going against? Now, I know this is a short term that you're going to. It's only a 2-year term. It's basically replacing Councilman Pascual because he resigned. So instead of doing the whole thing, they're just doing a short-term election for him. Now, your opponent is Johnny Munoz.
Correct.
And so that is your opponent. So what would you say sets yourself apart from your candidate, and what would make you the better candidate to choose from this election?
Well, I think one difference is my experience, and I know Johnny has been a longtime resident. He's got a lot of great experience as well. But my experience in the business, and especially my experience in the legal profession, I think having an understanding and experience and training in the law, I think will serve me well on the city council. Because for the most part, when you come to the city council, a lot of times city councils don't enact new laws. But I think enacting new laws and ordinances is important because they're critical, because they're the foundation of really shaping the city into what the citizens want it to be, or what we as leaders feel the vision for the city should be. And so it's important to build those ordinances around, for example, downtown. The revitalization of downtown could include enacting new ordinances to conform with the vision for downtown. And sometimes that has to happen. And having the expertise in the law, I think, and being able to talk with city council and work with them, I think can be a more seamless project or a seamless process as an attorney.
Now, as in the past, I don't think I don't know, because I mean, I haven't really researched it, but I don't know if you would know either. Have you ever had anybody with any legal experience or any legal profession that's gone into city council to kind of help before?
In other cities, I'm sure there has been, but
as far
to
as
my knowledge,
Delano,
no.
I don't think anybody
I don't
has.
think
I mean, you could be a great help because, I mean, obviously there's a lot of ordinances, a lot of laws, and a lot of new laws that could be put in to help the city. There's a lot of ordinances I know, particularly personally, I know about like cemetery, about how they go hand in hand with the city, because there are some ordinances that don't actually overflow, depending if like it's a special district or within county and everything. I mean, those are things that I feel. Permits are another thing. I mean, I hear all the time. It's like, it's taking me so long to get a permit.
Right.
There's all these different things that we have to do. It's changed from here to there. And
Correct.
it's like, that's why it's taking so long to build
Correct.
or us to start our business in it. But it'd be really nice to see that streamlined.
Yeah, and business. Yeah, and business to me, when I hear about business permits, I'm not just talking about actual literal businesses like a restaurant business or a clothing business. I'm talking about personal business. You know, a lot of times, this city is a pretty large city now, or a medium-sized city, and there are projects, construction projects, remodel projects that are going on. So, personal folks like you and I, you know, we're working on our homes, we're improving our homes, and so in a sense, we're in business as well. So, streamlining that process is very, very important. I don't know the actual numbers, but I would guess to venture to guess that many projects that are happening in the city today go without a permit, and partly, and so the city might be losing a lot of potential dues or permit money or income money that's coming from the permit process, and there's just, we can make the process much better. We can streamline the process. We can make it more consistent, so that Delano, as a city government, is open for business, all kinds of business, small to medium-sized businesses, personal businesses. Okay, and it's a win-win situation because, look, if you know, and this is just a total guess, but if there are 100 projects happening in Delano, personal home projects, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say probably 70-80% of those or higher are done without a permit, and partly is because of the process. The difficulty of the process, the inconsistency of the process. So being able to streamline that is going to be a win-win. Citizens can come to the city and say, hey, we're open for business. The city is easy to work with. We can get done what we need to get done in a timely fashion. Yay. And the city will recoup a lot of the fees and permits that come from these kind of projects. So it could be a win-win situation, but in the current condition that it's in, I think the process is, at least from what I understand, is very inconsistent and difficult.
I do agree with you on that because I hear from people around town, and I've talked with other people, and they'll say, well, when it comes to personal home, like what you say, I strongly do see that probably is true, that the majority is probably not done without a permit. And I mean, that it needs to be permitted and it needs to be streamlined to make it easier, because what if you're that person that built an extension or built something add on to their house and it wasn't permitted, and then now you're going to try and sell that house, and then somehow it slipped through.
Sure.
And you've bought that house, and then later on now you're having problems and you found out it wasn't permitted. Right. Now you're going to have to go through an even bigger process to correct any of those problems. And not just to say like that, I mean, because if I knew that it was easier to get something done, and I knew the permit was easy, I would be like, okay, boom, I know it's going to be, okay, yes, yeah. I need a re-roof. I need to put a new roof on my house. We all know we need a permit for that. Right. I know there's a lot of people. I mean, you hear a lot of people, it's like, well, we just do it ourselves. Or we just do it over the weekend. We do it after that. You hear that around town, because it's like, that's going to take too long to get a permit. We got to wait for them to come out here. Right. It's a long process that it takes to do that. And if you have no knowledge into it, now, if you're a roofing company, for instance, for that example, you're going to know what to do. But if you're an individual homeowner that needs to do it, and I mean, nowadays with the DIY attitude and everything, you can go buy in bulk. True. You can go to any home improvement store and get all that and kind of do it yourself. Not to say that it wouldn't be the same quality, because I've seen a lot of DIY stuff come out just as par, if not better, than some professional projects. Because I mean, you're allowed to kind of do that, but I mean, at least if it's permitted and you follow the rules and there's a streamlined process to do that, I could see that very well being better. You can see houses grow better. You can see businesses get larger, and then get nicer businesses because they're able to expand and do more things within the community because of the permit process.
I talked to a local businessman recently, and he was telling me that in some instances, it's taken up to 6 months for a permit, even longer for a permit. He's lost jobs because of waiting for permits. So it's an issue. In fact, also on Saturday during the parade, I was talking to another gentleman who is starting a fence company, and he was telling me that hey, you know what? I have all these permits all over, like around the towns around Delano, Visalia, Tulare, and these other, and no problem. But it's taking him so long to get a permit to start his business here in the city, and it just doesn't make sense. So Delano's got to be open for business, all types of business. And I think it's and I promise if we put in the work to do it, and we come up with the system, and we work with the city management and city government to streamline the process, and at least address the issues, then I think it's going to be really a win-win situation for both the city and for the citizens and those that are trying to open businesses in Delano. So
We heard the on the previous episode we talked with Liz Morris, and we went in depth about the water issue, and everybody knows how our water is here, and we got a little educated on how arsenic levels and how the city had to revamp their whole system, as well as the waste treatment plant, and that's where a lot of the costs come from. And so I mean, what do you think is the next step in that for water? Do you think it'd probably be possible in the future through policy or through finding more grants or finding anything within the system through legal expertise that we could stay on a more steady track instead of seeing such a bump in an increase throughout the time? Like, say, water mains are always going to get older. They're always going to break down. They're always going to need replacing. So I mean, that's normal. And we all know cost of living inflation will always go up. That's always going to happen. It's probably never going to go down. It's always going to increase over time. But that's something that we could probably see slowly in our water bills, waste, and everything like that. So give us a little insight.
The water issue is a complex issue. I'm not privileged enough yet to know to understand the arsenic levels and the wells and what the issues are. But now you also were covering like the financial aspect of it, and then having these increases and whatnot. The only way I can answer that is by saying that, like my own home, and like many of us do in our home, we see an issue in the future and we save money for it. And so a lot of it, I think, is about being fiscally conservative. It's about exercising discipline in our budget and putting money away for a rainy day. We can't, we have to allocate money, just like, I mean, for example, I know my taxes are coming due. I'm one of those homeowners where it's not deducted from my house payment. And so I know that every November, December, the first payment of my property tax is due. And then I know again, it's due in April. Well, I've been saving the whole year for it. And so I know that cost is coming. And so I have the money, you write a check and you move on. And so I'm not, like I said, I'm not privileged to know how the city budgets or how the budget is managed or how it's created. But I certainly think that's part of the long-term solution, is having the discipline and being financially conservative to save for these issues that are coming up. Just like families have an emergency fund to address emergency type costs. So I imagine if what you're saying is that we're going along, and then all of a sudden we find out we have an issue with the water, and now we don't have the money per se in the general fund to address it, and then we have to increase water rates in order to recoup the money, then I don't think that's the best way to do it. I think what we need to be doing is we need to be thinking ahead, and we need to be putting money away, and we need to be saving for a rainy day, and we need to be investing as a city. And I think that's important.
That's a very good answer. I like that. That is, I mean, I can relate to that. Yeah. Just like any person that runs a business or
people that have a knee-jerk reaction to financial issues in their life generally don't turn out well, right? If you don't think about your car breaking down until it breaks down, then you're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. Same thing with our home. In many homes, we have a budget. We have an account that's called auto maintenance account, and we put money into it every month, so that when the tires blow up or whatever, we have the money and we just keep going. And I think the city can function the same way, and maybe it does already. And I'm not saying anything negative about what the city, how the city is managing their money today, but I think that's an important way to manage the city's budget.
Well, Joe, I thank you for being here for this episode today. I'm pretty sure we all gained a lot of insight about you and what your philosophy and what your everything that you would bring to the table if you were to be elected for city council. So again, we thank you. We hope all of the viewers gain as much as they can, and they will use this podcast and use what they learn about you to help make the best decision for the city of Delano. You have a wonderful day, and we will be having more episodes coming up. We have a few more council members that are on for election for the long term, for the 4-year term. They will be on here. We have a couple scheduled with Noel Leon and Brian Osorio. So they will all be on here, and we hope to have them, and so that you all may learn and that we can all make the best decision for the city of Delano. Again, thank you, everyone, and keep an eye on and tune in for the next episode. All right, you have a good one, Joe.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it.